Well, hello, sports fans. It's Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. I'm in San Jose, California, and my partner in this lovely discussion, this coffee clutch, is Stuart Weir in Oxford, England. This is number 6 now. Last week I identified Stuart as number 6. It was actually number 5. I was just anticipating this week, so sorry about that.
That's all right. Just this once.
How are you doing today?
I have been on the golf course. The sun is shining in Oxford, England, which is not that usual.
Wow. That's pretty. Now, is the sun still out, or has it already come down?
No, the sun's still out. I could even point my camera towards the garden.
Totally cool. That's one of the things that I love when I'm in Europe during the summers. Gothenburg. I remember that in '95. I think the sun was up till almost midnight and then came back up.
Yeah, the further north you go.
Yeah, that keeps it kind of fun. So I actually sent you some topics early on.
Yes.
Today, I know it's kind of scary for me. And let me see where I actually have them right here. So it's the wonders of technology, Stuart. Someday I will actually, get it all figured out. The big event that happened over the weekend was the death of Svein Arne Hansen, the president of European Athletics. And I think that was quite sad. You said you had not met him. Had you been on any of the media events, or?
I have never really had a conversation with him. I mean, I've seen him. I have said hello to him, but I don't know him. But everyone speaks well of him.
Yeah.
And also that while he is the president, that sometimes can just be an honorary title. He was a very active president, and of course, for years, he ran the Bislett event, which is now the Oslo Diamond League. But I mean, he was the meet director, so he's very much a man of the sport. And I thought it was very noticeable that how many people on social media commented about how sad it was. I mean, he had this stroke, I think it was in June, and we knew that was serious.
Yeah.
And there were questions as to whether he would ever return to his position, and sadly, he has died.
Yeah, no, Patty, or who is it now? Pierce O'Callaghan, who works with European Athletics and World Athletics, did a moving tribute to him on Twitter. We'll get it put up today. We're going to do a little more of a historical piece on him, but what he did alone with the Bislett Games was pretty impressive in making that such a wonderful event. Wendy Sly spoke movingly about being able to compete against Greta Vates there, and I just remember Fernando Mamed and Carlos Lopes running near world record for 10,000 meters there, among other things, and all the amazing mile races. And I finally got some time with him in 2013 in Gothenburg. He did an event for the media, and very relaxed, very affable. Every time I saw him, it's something nice to say. He was a backslapper. He knew how to get stuff done, but he really, I think, upgraded the prestige of European athletics, which I think is really important. And they, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of things that they do, communications-wise, event-wise, especially reaching out to the young people that the other global federations can learn from. It's going to be interesting to see how the interim president, Dobromov, I'm going to destroy his last name, but the Bulgarian who is the senior vice president of European Athletics, and I've met him in several things. He was a good friend of Sven's, so I hope that the legacy of Svein Arne Hansen continues, and we'll keep our fingers crossed and keep his family and friends in our prayers, because he had a stroke in March. Pierce Callahan noted that he last time he spoke to him was in mid-April, and that he was in a lot of pain and just not doing well. And Robert Wagner, the agent, told me that he had been hearing from him in March and April, and that he had, it was a tough go, and it's sad to see him go so young. So, and then our next thing is more of a cluster, is Mr. Christian Coleman just doesn't seem to know how to take whereabouts tests seriously. There's been a lot of misconceptions online, so I thought we would, as a public service, explain that if you're an elite athlete, you need to tell your national anti-doping folks where you're at for 1 hour a day between 5 a.m. and 11 p.m., 365 days a year. And they have the right to come and test you at that time. And if you're not in that place, that counts as a missed event. And 3 of those count as a failed doping test if you're done it in the same year. We've had several Americans who have had problems with it, several Brits. Mo had to deal with it. Christina Haragu dealt with it. And I believe she had a 6-month slap on the wrist for it.
1 year.
1 year, okay. I think Christian Coleman's going to get 2 years. And my feeling is this: my gosh, they should have learned about it before Doha. Do you remember how much junk we dealt with in Doha? Every question was, well, what do you think, Christian, about, you missed all these tests. What are you hiding? He should have learned. At least his management should have learned. I do not understand how a management team for an athlete who is making a lot of money isn't just making sure he's there for that hour a day. He decides to go out shopping.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I mean, I have 2 opinions on this.
Okay.
One is that it's, in a way, frustrating when, if a clean athlete gets banned through mismanagement, when within the sport there are athletes that people have a lot of suspicions about.
Yes.
But equally, I think that neither Nasser, the world 400 meters champion, nor Christian Coleman have helped themselves by the way they reacted to it. I mean, Nasser said missing tests is normal. And, the fact that Coleman had chosen the hour when he was potentially to be tested to go Christmas shopping or something, I just think that didn't help his cause.
I agree. Michael Johnson, who tends to comment more in the UK than he does in the US, and I'm not sure why that is.
Well, I think money, perhaps, because BBC pay him.
Thank you, Stuart. You put it in perspective, and I like Michael. He's no BS. I enjoyed him when he was competing. I had a good relationship with him and his coach, and his parents even liked me because I talked to him about track stuff. He made some really good comments during the whole Black Lives Matter situation, which is continuing over here, obviously, that you need to get involved. But he also has made comments about that athletes need to be professional. And I like Christian Coleman. I think he's a nice young man. In my heart of hearts, I don't believe he's a cheater, but this sure makes him look suspicious. And I don't understand how his handlers even allow this to happen. I remember that Olympic swimmer a few years ago, the guy won like 8, 10 medals. He went to a party one time where it was after the Olympics, and he smoked what is in some states a legal herb, some's an illegal herb over here. And people took videotapes of it and sent it everywhere. Now, if I had been his agent and he was going to a party, I'd have told everybody, put your phones and your devices in here. this guy's going to relax tonight, and let him be a kid and let him relax. That's just common sense things and the guy was making, what, 40, 50 million a year in endorsements? I know Christian Coleman doesn't do that, but common sense has got to prevail. If he's supposed to be somewhere for an hour, he better be somewhere for an hour.
Yeah.
And I do not see how World Athletics is going to let him off. You know, his sponsors are going to be unhappy campers. And as a fan and a media person, I love watching this guy race.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I wanted to see him against Noah Lyles, you know, and see what was going to happen. And, you know, there's so much other junk that goes on in the sport now. The fun thing is just putting people to line up and say, okay, on your mark, set, boom. That's what it's supposed to be about. But now we can lose out for this guy till 2022.
Yeah.
So, bit frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, Hugh Brazier, the executive meet director for the Virgin Money London Marathon, and I think this is the last year it's Virgin Money, if I'm correct, says that they're looking at some innovative ways to put on the event October 4th. Okay. I just can't see it happening. And,
Nor me.
You know,
No.
and it's just like, and here's the thing. Yeah, you know, I should be wearing my Dave Bedford for Prime Minister t-shirt because, you know, I love David, and I think that what he did for the London Marathon and the team there made it wonderful. And Hugh's obviously continuing that. But London was a global event, and it's not just about the elite athletes, it's about the whole race.
Yeah.
Which everybody else learned from, you know? And they're not going to be able to put 40,000 people out there, guys dressed as knights and, you know, the chopped off, you know, Anne Boleyns. And I always love to see how many Anne Boleyns were out there. And, you know, just those kind of things. I'd be sitting in the press center and BBC would be doing stuff, and, you know, Crammy and Paula Radcliffe would be talking, and there'd be cute little sayings down below, people tweeting stuff out. I raised $40,000 this, and it really was part of the whole flavor of it.
Totally.
So how do you do that? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I was amused by the comment from the organizers of the Great North Run, who said we had to cancel it because for the mass start, if we had done social distancing, the last ones would have been in Scotland. Yeah, I mean, last Wednesday of last week, Premier League soccer restarted.
Okay.
Playing in empty stadium.
All right.
Because no spectators are allowed. Players are being tested at least twice a week. Yeah. But then you see they have got television contracts which are $1 billion a year.
Sure. Yeah.
So they can afford to do all this kind of stuff, and spectators are not important to the financing. But I mean, if you're talking about having, let's say, 40,000 people running in the London Marathon, and of course that means 80,000 minimum watching them.
Yeah.
So you have the problem with the runners, you have the problem with the spectators.
Sure.
So I mean, of course, we are talking 2 or 3 months ahead, but and that's the thing that one doesn't really know. Except we have a great fear here that there will be a second spike in the winter when the health services are already always under more pressure in winter than summer, and that could be really bad. So I think our government will be cautious, and I mean already we've had 42,000 who've died, and some people think if you do the statistics a different way, it's 60,000. So I think the government cannot take any risks, and I think they're going to be cautious. And currently we're on this 2 meter or 6.5 feet distance, and there's strong rumors that that will be halved this week. But
Wow.
that helps to some extent, but not greatly. I just do not see there's any way you can have the London Marathon with a mass race and with spectators. And as you say, to have 50 elite runners running the streets of London with no one watching them, that's not the London Marathon.
No. And, I'm waiting. The Berlin thing is weird because I guess the city of Berlin has said no groups bigger than 5,000 can congregate up until October 24th. So they canceled, of all things, their Oktoberfest, which I think is a sign of the end times. The other thing, Chicago Marathon, the state of Illinois is in the top 5 states with positive coronavirus cases and deaths now. So, that's pretty well not going to happen. And so you're dealing with Berlin, and Boston is a virtual event. I think the only one that's going to happen this year has already happened, which is Tokyo, is an elite event. I wonder what New York will do. But I think New York is rather common sense. And if they have to cancel it this year, they'll cancel it.
Yeah.
I still just don't see any events in any way that we 21 second half. I mean, I went on my calendar today and it said U.S. Olympic trials. I hadn't taken that down yet,
Well, absolutely. I was at our trials last weekend, but there was nobody there.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Lausanne Diamond League, the Atletisme, is going ahead, but one discipline only. They're doing a pole vault competition.
Yeah.
Men's and women.
Are you doing it down by the train station, or where are they?
Well, they're doing it not in the stadium, but they did it, the last time they did it actually on the shore of the lake.
Nice. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I can understand that you can do that because they're talking about having 12 men and 12 women.
Okay.
So you have to fund the travel for 24 athletes.
Yeah.
And you'll get some TV revenue. And it's feasible to have a pole vault competition with social distancing, but we're a long way from being able to have a 100-meter race with 8 lanes filled, and I just don't see anything of that nature happening.
Yeah.
On an international scale. I mean, it's interesting that there are in the Czech Republic and in Poland and in Scandinavia some smaller meets.
Mm-hmm.
But athletes that I talk to are not expecting to compete. I mean, like I was invited to the press conference for the Lausanne event, but I pointed out to the organizer of Lausanne that if I were to go, I would be disobeying the advice of my government that I should not travel anywhere which is not essential. And secondly, if I did go for a day for the press conference, I would then have to quarantine myself for 2 weeks when I came back.
That's true.
So for us, travel, it just ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it's, I'm in California now, and I pretty much stayed to myself for the first 2 weeks. And for Father's Day yesterday, we drove down to Carmel, which is about 90 miles, and then drove up the coast. And we were looking at all the beaches and stuff, and there's people on all of them. Mostly it looks like family groups, much smaller than groups before. But numbers in any of these areas are going up again. And that's what's scary. I'm trying to figure out when I can go back to Wisconsin, and I'm hoping to go back the end of July. And the Trump administration today admitted that there's going to be a second wave and that it's going to be an issue and we're going to have to deal with it, just anticipating people calling. So I'm putting my...
Well, I'm glad that the Trump administration is admitting that, because I felt that they hadn't even admitted there'd been a first wave.
Oh my gosh, it's just, I cannot believe, this Dr. Fauci, who I've been familiar with since his amazing work on HIV back in the 80s, has been very well received by most Americans. And now he's getting hate mail and things. And, because he made the mistake of saying that American football may not be able to happen because of COVID-19. And the president chimed in and the head of the NFL chimed in, and it's silliness. Life seems to be, in my mind, more important, and I don't know why people can't see that that there are good doctors and scientists out there trying to help us figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's just now, are athletes allowed to train in normal ways yet in the UK?
Most training facilities are still closed.
Okay.
So therefore, I think that is that is difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last night, it was very interesting. We were driving up to Half Moon Bay along probably the most beautiful highway in the U.S., Highway 1, goes right along the coast. You're seeing farm fields to your right and the ocean to your left. And coming down the highway was a pack of about 20 elite bicyclists just flying. And there's this wonderful stretch of 64 miles along the coast. And it's the first training group I have seen in months, I think they just kind of got tired of it and had to do something. And that's what's happening over here a lot. And that's why I'm concerned about a second wave. Any new thoughts on the Olympics right now?
I still think it's 50-50.
Yeah, I do too. You provided a note for a piece, I think last week, where Seb Coe spoke about a few things, among them COVID-19.
Yeah.
Anything that impressed you in what he said?
Well, I thought that what was really interesting was his acceptance that the world will not be the same again, and that he said that we are an organization which has a sustainability policy, and with that we cannot continue to fly people around the world for short meetings, and that we have to recognize that one can do a lot of our international congresses simply in the way we're speaking now. Yeah. And I thought
it's great.
I thought that was interesting that he was sort of saying that's something we've learned and something that is good to have to change.
What did you see the document that's being passed around? I think Inside the Games put it up too, about the IAAF budgets 17, 18, 19.
I didn't look in detail at that. I saw the story, but I didn't look in detail.
Essentially, they said that the IAAF, now World Athletics, lost 19,000 in 2017 or 26,000 2017, 26 million in 2017, 19 million in 2018, and so some athletes have come out and said, "Hey, how are you going to manage this?" And I think that. I always believed that one of the biggest line items was travel. And I thought that as a World Athletics national representative, you had a certain number of tickets, and they were business class. Business class from the U.S. to Europe is about 10,000 U.S. What's that? About 8,500 sterling. About 9,000 euros. It's a lot of money when you add up 209 countries, and some of them are more expensive than that. So anything that Seb can do to cut back on travel is going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see. British athletics, anything new going on there?
Well, we have. There's been an announcement that we are going to appoint a head coach, which is, which a lot of people have said has been needed for some time. Neil Black had been the performance director, but his background was not as a coach. So the idea of actually having somebody whose job title is to be responsible for coaching in the country seems to be a good move.
Now, was Charles Van Comeny, was that his position in 2012?
I think that he was also the performance director, but
so they haven't had a head coach in some time.
No, they haven't.
Okay. Are you hearing any names being thrown up?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the question, I suppose, is whether they will want an insider or whether they're going to look for an outsider, whether they're open to a foreign coach. No, I mean, I think that a popular choice would be Stephen Maguire, who is the sprints coach, and who's part-time with British Athletics and is part-time with Scottish Athletics.
Okay.
I think he would be a popular choice from what athletes say to me. I think Tony Mintello would have a lot of the qualifications, but Tony tends to say what he thinks. And of course, if you do that, you tend to offend people.
Yeah, it's not politics. Yeah.
Tony doesn't do politics, and I don't know whether that would be something that's held against him.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Scottish athletics. Let's go back there for a second. Andy Young, who his group seems to grow and grow, started with Laura Muir and Gemma Ricci, and has Gabriella Stafford. And how big is his group of athletes?
I don't know without looking it up, but those are certainly the main ones.
Was his did the National Federation try to take over from him when he was coaching Laura when she became good?
I don't think so. No, because it's. I mean, at times the Federation British Athletics has tried to get everyone at one or a few sites. I mean, for example, say, let's have everyone in Loughborough. And that was at the time when Jess Ennis was our top athlete. And basically, Jess Ennis says, look, I live in Sheffield. My family are in Sheffield. My coach is in Sheffield. I ain't moving. And so there wasn't much they could do about it. Now, with sleight of hand, that you probably even didn't notice that I was looking away. With my other computer, I have looked up, and there are 16 athletes in
Wow.
Andy Young's group, but now only about 3 of those are senior. Sorry, about 5 are senior. There's a loads in the under 23 age group.
Uh-huh.
And so you see, this is quite a common thing with us, and a point which has been made by Dean Isher-Smith, that John Blackie, her coach, has a group of mainly non-elite athletes, and that he's just as excited about one of them doing well in the English schools.
Yeah.
So this group, I mean, just going through the names, most of them are not people that I would instantly know, other than the three that you mentioned. And
okay, we're down to 7 minutes to go, and Stuart is frozen in time. So what we were talking about was Andy Young, the coach of Laura Muir and Gemma Recchi, as well as Gabriella Boo Stafford. He's got a group of 16 that Stuart just informed us of, and they are a lot of under 23 athletes. And so he is developing them. And as we also talked about Dean Asher-Smith, who's been with her coach since she was 11. And Dina noted recently that her coach is excited about his age groupers doing well, as her doing well on a world or Olympic stage, which is pretty cool. I think we've lost our friend Stuart for the rest of this session, but this was Athletics Chat 6, and we've covered Svein, Arne, Hansen. Will London happen? Will any more World Marathon Majors happen this year? Wanda World Marathon Majors. No Olympics. Can't figure that out. No Olympics in 2021. That's our thought. Seb Coe. What did he say about COVID-19? And we were updating on British athletics. Thank you for watching our Athletics Chat 6 today. So you even got it right, Mike. And you can watch for our epilogue shortly. This is Larry Eder signing off. Sports fans, this is Larry Eder. RunBlogRun here, Athletics Chat 6. Stuart Weir is enjoying his evening in Oxford, England. And I'm sitting here in San Jose, California with birds chirping in my backyard and, hummingbirds, dotting around the back of my head and lizards crawling. And I'm going to tell you what we talked about today. Okay? All right, get your sack lunch. Open up that nice cerveza. I hope like a Negro Modelo or a Bohemian, or, have some Clamato juice, hey? One of those great gifts from Canada, which I do like with a Negro Modelo, by the way, and a little lime and a little salt. Anyway, okay, I digress. So, topic today, Athletics 6, Chat 6. Svein Arne Hansen, who was the president of European Athletics since 2015, he's the former meet director of the Oslo Bislett Games. He was the former head of the Norwegian Athletic Federation, an innovator, a man who loved the sport, died on Saturday. He succumbed to a stroke that he had back in March, which he had battled for several months, and he's going to be sorely missed. Svein was a character. He loved what he did. He was a backslapper. He would tell you jokes. He knew something about you. Every time I saw him after 2015, he had something nice to say. And you just don't see that in leaders like that. But most importantly, he leaves a legacy for European athletics. And the group that he built will continue to build European athletics. European athletics have kind of fallen to the wayside because all these great athletes from Africa, all these great athletes from the U.S., but then you started having the Ingebrigtsens. You had Daniel Stahl from Sweden. You had Renaud Lavillenie from France, Christophe Lamotte, Katerina Stefanidi. Just some amazing, amazing athletes from all over Europe. And the kids were getting into it. And the kids were getting into it specifically because of the programming that European athletics was putting together. They did streaming video. They had good announcing. Our buddy Phil Minshul did a lot of that. But they communicated to the younger generation. And these kids participated, but they also are all over social media. And they're into the up-and-coming European athletes. And there's great opportunities there for athletes all over Europe. And Svein Arne Hansen got it. He knew how to work with managers. He knew how to work with athletes. He knew how to work with the federations. He knew how to deal with the global politics of sports, because there's a lot. And he championed European athletics. And that's his legacy. What he did at the Oslo Bislett Games is amazing. For years, that for me was one of the first meets I knew about in Europe. You know, Ron Clark, the great Australian athlete who would race in Europe 30, 35 times a season, started running in Sweden and Norway back in the mid-'60s. And he's a big part of the reason why we have these lovely summer evening meets. And, you know, I went to them for 10, 12 years. I'm missing them terribly this summer. Being in Sweden and Norway this time of the year is amazing. And enjoying a track meet, being able to go out and talk with your friends afterwards, bumming around Stockholm, Oslo, Malmo, Copenhagen. It's always a lot of fun. Svein got that. He also got the sports as entertainment, and he did an amazing job really bringing European athletics back, and that's his legacy. And the people that he championed in all those positions get that and will continue to build that. And I look forward to going to European championships again in the future and know that his spirit will be there. Stuart and I talked about London Marathon, Wanda World Marathon Series. We're just not sure it's going to happen, at least not in any way that resembles the marathons that have been put on at London in the past. Virgin Money Marathons is, I've told the story before, David Bedford, the former director of the race, would do this little cocktail party on a barge right by the Guaman Hotel on the Friday night, and the tickets were sought after. And occasionally I got to go. Thanks, David. But my favorite moment was when David would get up there with a beverage and say, "Welcome to the greatest marathon in the world." And standing next to him were the people from Boston, the people from New York, the people from Berlin, and they all cracked up. There was a healthy competition between those events. They're wonderful events. Competition is good. It's not a bad thing. Competition between events is good too, as long as you figure a way to make it work. The issue is right now, the only marathon that's happened was Tokyo. And that was, I love the people in Tokyo, but, you know, it just wasn't there. It wasn't a whole race. This is not just about the elite part of the sport. It's about the entire part of the sport. The entire sport, the 5-hour runners, the 4-hour runners, the 3-hour runners, the 2-hour runners, okay? It's all there. And sponsors do it not just because of the elites, but because of everybody. And rightly so. The City of London supports the marathon. The mayor, I think the mayor of London's awesome. I'm fascinated with him, and I love the way he stands up to some of the people in the U.S. Hope to get to interview him sometime. But he's got to look out for what's best for the city. They just had some stabbings the other day, too. So there's whack stuff going on, and they've got to figure it out. But COVID-19 is a real issue, and we're not even finished with the first wave. We're already talking about a second wave. So he's got to look at that. Stuart and I also talked about the Olympics. We don't see how it's going to happen in 2021. This is nothing. We're not blaming the LOC. We are actually celebrating the LOC and the IOC for their transparency. We know it's difficult, and we know it's difficult for the sponsors. And look, I love NBC Sports and their coverage and all the stuff these guys have done for athletics. It's huge. But right now, there's millions of lives at stake. This is not a joke. This is not an alien invasion. This is not a political stunt. This is real. Science isn't left or right. And I wish people would stop doing that. And also, don't hide behind your religion and say, well, science is wrong. If you believe in a divine creator, how can you not believe in evolution? You know? And politically, I do not understand how Republicans or Democrats question the science. It's fluid right now because we just don't know a lot. But you got to be careful. So, socially distance. Wash your hands 20 seconds. Hard thing for guys to do. But do it. And I do it probably 15, 20 times a day. And if you're like me, over 60, have heart stuff, had cancer, you need to watch out for those things. And if you have family members that are like me, watch out for them, okay? You may not get sick, but others will. Masks do help, okay? Just have one in your pocket all the time. I have two in my pockets. You know, we went up and down the coast yesterday for Father's Day, and I got out a few times, and I had my mask on, and people looked at me like, what? I have a 49ers mask, okay? So anyway, Olympics, it's going to be a challenge. We wish them the best. I love the Olympics. This has been my 10th Summer Olympics. But alas, right now, I think it's about 50-50. Seb Coe last week spoke about COVID-19 and a few other things and how it's going to change the sport. And he said something that's really important about the sport and sustainability and why it's ludicrous to have these big congresses and fly people around the world 4 times a year or whatever the number of times is, when a business class ticket can be anywhere from 8,000 euros, 8,500 or 7,500 sterling, 10,000 US. That adds up. And Zoom, you can do it. And you can see people's expressions, and you can chat, you can have side conversations, you can do all the little political tete-a-tetes that you need. So, nice job, Seb. That's good. That saves us about $15 million a year. British Athletics update. British Athletics is looking for a head coach, which they have not had in a while. I queried if Mr. Van Coleman was a head coach, and they believe he was a performance director like the late, great Neil Black. So it'll be interesting to see which direction they take. Stuart has a few ideas on who it could be, so we will have to see. And that concluded Athletics Chat 6. Love you guys and gals. Thank you so much for making this program a success. Send me little notes to runblogrun@gmail.com about things you'd like to talk about, and we will do that. And I'm going to do something on Svein Hansen tomorrow. I just need to do a little more research. And so, again, hello, my friends all around the world. Stay safe. You can do here's the things we know. Washing your hands for 20 seconds with an alcohol-based product, a good hand sanitizer, is important. When I get in and out of the car, I do that. When I go anywhere, I do that. and I wear the mask. Okay? Even if you're not going to get sick, you're helping other people, those you love, from getting sick. The second wave is going to happen. It's going to be more difficult because other illnesses are involved too, and it's going to be a challenge all over the world. So please be careful. When you run, socially distance, stay 6 feet apart, okay? You want to train with your group? Just keep it apart. Just be careful, okay? I don't want people getting sick. Being on a respirator, those kind of things, I watched my dad, and it's really hard to see someone you love with that. So be careful. Socially distance. Call the people you love. Tell them that you love them every day. People that you're with, hug. If you can do that safely. Otherwise, do that. Say, I love you, baby. Anyway, goodbye for now. This is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun from San Jose, California. It's Monday, June 22nd, Athletics Chat 6 Epilogue. Mike Deering, I love you. Thank you very much for putting up with me and doing all this crazy stuff. Talk to you soon. Bye now.